Stray is a game I had heard of and even seen it several times, but I had no idea what it was really about. I'd seen clips of it, heard mentions of it, but never actually watched or played it properly. Recently, I was trying to think of short games to play. Stray popped into my head. I looked up its runtime, and at only 5 hours, I decided I wanted to pick up and review it. I like cats, I knew it had a sci-fi dystopian aesthetic, which appeals to me, so I decided to pick it up. Boy, did I not know how much I'd really like the game. Stray is a story about a cat exploring an underground society comprised entirely of robots, long after humans have died. The players travel across a small handful of environments, some linear, some open, in order to try and make it to the outside, the surface locked away long ago. The mechanics and gameplay are simple. You can run and jump from one platform to another. However, unlike a typical jump, the player has no control over air movement. The cat simply jumps from one point to another. You can also sometimes interact with the environment using your cat or your robot drone companion, B12. Talking to robots through B12 is also a vital part of the game, as it lets you acquire information about your surroundings, and also show or give them items to progress the story. Stray's mechanics are simple by design. You only have two very limited actions for most of the game, a run and a limited jump. However, that's all you need. Because you can only jump onto certain platforms, and the game contains a lot of vertical movement, the game ends up being a lot about exploring your environment, to find how you can ascend and traverse it. The way forward is not always obvious. For example, you may need to climb up to a point to knock over a wooden board, which then creates a platform to cross the gap. You may see a building in the distance, but have to figure out how to get across the rooftops to get to it. That's about as complex as the game gets for most of its runtime, outside of a couple of one-off encounters and mechanics. The game isn't hard at all, I never got stuck, but it forces you to be observant. That observance also really lets you enjoy the game's stunning art direction. The game looks beautiful, and despite being rough in some places, realistic fur is still very difficult in video games, never leaves you too long without a jaw-dropping beautiful moment. There are several moments throughout the game where you can lay down and sleep, and when you do, the camera slowly pans out to show the landscape, sometimes accompanied by music, and this moment especially gave me such a feeling of awe and wonder. I also really enjoyed the world created by the game. The mix of rundown urban electronics and bits of older Eastern culture mixed in were an interesting look, an enjoyable combination of old and new that really brought out the characters of the robots. I also found the game to evoke a lot of similar feelings of Half-Life Alyx. The Zerks and more biological creatures overrunning and infecting the rundown urban environments very much reminded me of places like the Quarantine Zone. The ending of this game landed almost flawlessly for me. I could tell I was nearing the end of the game during the prison break sequence, as threats were getting high and I was the last member of the Outsiders, the characters the story revolves around. Once you escape from the last area and leave the last Outsider member behind, when music kicks in, you can tell your journey is almost over. When you finally reach the metro station right before the control area, and the entire game is silent save for the sounds of the monotone, personality-less robots performing the tasks they've been assigned for who knows how long, that coldness really hits and you start to look back on how far you've come, especially when you finally see the view of the entire game you've been traversing so far. And when I began to destroy the locks keeping the people walled off from the outside, seeing B12 slowly get more and more damaged, I knew it was coming. I slowly completed the goal that my faithful robot companion wanted from the very start, and solemnly made him proud. I'm not one to cry during video games, but for Stray... No, I didn't cry here either. But that's not to say I felt nothing watching B12 slowly fade. I felt a strange sense of pride, almost the same that the robot did. I was sad to see the little guy go, but I also felt strangely happy, accomplishing a virtual task whose success was all but guaranteed. Going in blind to games almost always leaves me with that sense of contentment at the end, and Stray's well-crafted story and close connection with your companion only exemplified that effect. I really enjoyed Stray, a lot. Is it my favorite game of all time? No, that's either Pikmin 3 or Deltarune. Do I love it anyways? Absolutely. I could not recommend it more. Stray also made me realize how much I can enjoy a good, calming story-based game. I tend to enjoy more technically challenging games, but Stray's simplicity still really appealed to me. I could not recommend it more.